The car crusher from the movie picture Goldfinger is a thrill to watch it in action. An amazing machine indeed. It is compact, mounted on a truck trailer, and yet can reduce a full-size domestic car into a 3 feet or 3.5 feet cubic or so. I assume that the engine and the tranny are removed beforehand. I never seen one in real life, and from the movie it is hard to see, technically speaking, how it works. Obviously, it's a combination of hydraulic rams working in different sequences. To tell you the truth, I never figured out how it works and never did any research on that. I talked myself into making a model in 1/87 scale, HO scale, which ended up being actually 1/65 scale. It was a big project since it involved also making a crane called material handler. A material handler has two accessories. One is a magnetic or magnet, and the other one is like a 4-finger or 3-finger grab hook. For the model, I use sliding part with cams for motion. I spent a bit of time designing it, but it proved to be good and I stayed with it all the way through the project. I hope you enjoy this video and thank you for watching. Starting with the base plate, I call this a base plate, milled from a stock plate. I'm cutting the two slots for the what I call the walls, two little walls. Machining the base with a dovetail cutter. So here are the front wall, I call it the front, and the rear one. So here again is my base plate with the front and rear wall, and I call this one the slider. It goes slide in and out with the by the means of the dovetail assembly, and those are the flaps. They can go in and out, both of them. This is the door. This is the top of the base on the top, and this is the bottom. So the motion comes from under for the door opening and closing. The reason I have two pins over here is because there are two rods in the center. So to allow to go around the center rod, I have to go with two pins on the side. So here is the assembly, the door assembly, going up and down. So this is the first box, or the upper box, mounted under the base. So the upper box will receive two camshafts. Those are the cams. And then a center shaft to drive those two gears, or those two camshafts. So looking from the top, those are the arms that are pushing the slider. So now those camshafts are in place, and you can see the cams pushing the arms. Those are the arms, there's four of them, pushing them in and out. As for those three gears, I could not find any gear that to fit in that configuration, so I had to make those three gears. Those are spur gear, as this is a worm gear. I had to make a new hub to fit into that 316 shaft. This particular worm gear needed to be custom made, with 2 side hubs and truss flanges. Worm gear are very effective in ratio reduction and strong enough for this application. This part was a bit challenging. There is a degree of accuracy in the assembly. The gearbox, the bearings, rod need to be in perfect alignment and well centered to avoid friction or jamming. As it starts to be crowded, adding a box, I call it the lower box, will facilitate the assembly and the fabrication. Here is a butterfly made of a 2 inches hinge, 2 camshaft, and push rod will activate the flap. Again, I call this the flap, seen from the top. I was able to find 3 gear, but I have to fit them with hub to modify them to accommodate the 316 shaft. Also, I have to make a worm for this worm gear. This is one way to make the mounting bracket for the motors, and I made a mock-up out of a cardboard. So here is a final assembly showing the motor, the first one for the slider, M2 for the flap, M3 for the hydraulic rod, and M4 for the door. To finalize, I use this stand for detail work. Showing the 4 gear motors, I use Tamiya gear motors. So number 1 for slider. The gear reduction is 58:1, the most demanding drive of all. I have to install a 12-volt DC motor. The number 2 for the flaps, also a 58:1 reduction. Number 3 for the press block, it's a 18:1 ratio, and number 4 at the back here is number 4 for the door.